Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is pretty simple to do. I'm using this Leafy frame die by Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to cut it out of some green apple cardstock and some black Stampin' Up! Cardstock. The green apple is Simon Says Stamp. So what I'm going to do is use a regular sandwich here, and you can see that the A2 size card fits exactly into this die. So I'm going to carefully place it face down. I'll put my next acrylic plate, and then I'm going to add 3 shims, and that will add just a tiny little bit more pressure because this is a pretty intricate die. Now, even when I'm adding these shims, it helps to do this next step here to make sure you get your die just pops right out. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And if your paper pops out of the die, it's not a big deal. That happened when I did it with the black. And I just put it right back in where it was. Sometimes it's hard to line up, but this is really easy to line up because the cardstock is the exact same size as the die. And the pieces will just pop right out. And it's a really beautiful die. Here are my pieces both cut out. And what I'm going to do is adhere the green to the black. I'm going to cover the entire back of the green apple with a 2-way glue pen. And this seems a little tedious and it seems like it would take too long, and I actually took a full minute and my glue really did not dry and it actually stuck to the black. I also found that rather than brushing it on, if you pounce it on, more of the glue comes out and you'll have more time to adhere it. Now what I'm doing here is I'm focusing on the bottom and on the left side. I'm going to make sure that the same amount of black is showing on the bottom and the left. You can see it's just a little smidge, and what this is going to do is going to offset the green and the black so it looks like the black is a shadow behind the green. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of go over some of these pieces because it is a pretty delicate die. Some of the pieces can be a little bit out of alignment, so I'm just going to make sure that they all have the same amount of black showing. Now you could leave this as is, but I decided to add a little more detail with some Copic markers. So I'm going to take a YG25, and this is really easy, and I'm actually not very precise with my coloring, but I'm going to color the side of the leaf that has the black because that's the part that has the shadow and where you're going to get the darkest part of the leaf. So it's really easy to follow. I just go along each leaf where the black is showing and draw a little line of this YG25. It looks like my lines are very harsh, but Copic markers fade quite a bit when you color on colored cardstock. After I do the YG25, I'll take YG21, which is almost a yellow color, and I'm just going to blend it out a little bit. And you can see it looks a little bit messy, but once you give it a minute to dry, it sort of blends into the color of the cardstock and it looks really nice. So you can see that I'm leaving just a little bit of the bare green cardstock. And I'm just going to repeat this process, going back and forth. I find that it helps working in sections so I know what has been done and what hasn't been done. And you can see I'm going back and coloring the stems. And I decided to do all the stems in the dark color. You can start to see that the leaves I colored first are already starting to fade and the colors are blending really nicely. So I'm just going to do this all over the whole entire card. And here I am finishing it up, and I noticed that the edges were a little messy and I didn't like that. So what I decided to do is take my YG25 and I'm going to slant my brush tip and just color the edge. It really does not have to be perfect because of the color fading, so you're not going to really see any harsh lines. So I just want to make sure I cover all the edge. I think it looks really pretty colored like this. It's really starting to look dimensional, and when I put it against the white, it's going to look even better. All right, so here is my final product. Now I still have that black hanging off the left and the bottom. So I'm just going to take a scissor, and you can of course do this in the trimmer, but I just sort of lean my scissor against the green and cut along the line, and I'm just cutting off this black because the size of the die is exactly A2 and it'll fit right on my card base. So here's my card base, a top folding Nina Solar White. I'm going to put it in my MISTI with my grid sheet. I'm pulling my sentiment from the Sketch Lotus Flower Set by Simon Says Stamp, and I chose it because it's kind of a squarish sentiment. I thought it would fit nicely in the middle. So I'm going to center it on my grid sheet. I'm going to stamp it in VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's my favorite black ink for sentiments. And then I'm going to take my die and I'm covering the whole back again with the two-way glue. It took a full minute for me to cover it up, and again, if you pounce, you get plenty enough glue such that it won't dry before you have a chance to adhere it. So I'm going to place that right over my card base, and it should fit perfectly. If for some reason you didn't cut it correctly, you can always cut off some of the white underneath. And that is the card for today. So I think it's really effective with the Copic markers. It makes it look a little bit more realistic. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.